Hello, today we have John Passalacqua, the CEO and director of First Phosphate Corporation, trading on the OTCQX under the ticker FRSPF. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Craig.
For investors who may be completely new to the story, John, what problem in the global battery supply chain is First Phosphate solving, and why is phosphate so critical to energy storage and AI-driven infrastructure?
LFP batteries, lithium iron phosphate batteries, now run about 75% of all the batteries in the world, but most of them are all dependent on supply chains in Asia and mostly in China. If you remember, during the last spat between the US and China over rare earths, China also came back threatening LFP technology and its export. So, First Phosphate really is focusing on that supply chain and landing that supply chain in North America, starting from the critical minerals all the way to the creation of the LFP cathode active material and eventually the LFP batteries themselves. Like this LFP battery that you see before you, this was one created by First Phosphate with fully North American critical minerals, of which are phosphate material.
Now, John, your resource in Quebec is an igneous phosphate deposit, which is relatively rare globally. What makes igneous phosphate fundamentally different from sedimentary phosphate when it comes to battery grade applications?
Igneous phosphate is found within volcanic activity, volcanic rock, so it is of extreme purity. It doesn't have all of the deleterious elements such as sedimentary phosphates, and for this reason, it can be purified up to very, very clean state, and almost 100% of it can be purified into purified phosphoric acid, which is what goes into making LFP batteries. Functionally, we have a very clean resource, very high purity, low levels of contaminants, and also very clean processing, which basically bypasses the fertilizer industry and goes directly into the high technology industry for LFP battery. This is fundamental.
Can you walk us through why purity matters so much for LFP batteries and how your asset stands apart?
Yes, it's just like all other aspects of electrification. You need to start with the purest materials because that helps with the longer life of the battery and also the safety measures of the battery as well. And also, when you're creating batteries, you're creating it to clean up the planet. So you need to start with a source that is basically producing clean materials. And this phosphate is so clean that it processes clean and it processes directly into the LFP battery technology industry with minimal impurities and outside contamination.
Your preliminary economic assessment outlines robust economics. What are the key drivers behind those economics that investors should be focusing on?
Yeah, so I think the key drivers are the fact that it's an open pit mine. It's very close to the deep sea port of Saguenay, only 70 kilometers away. It's very close to infrastructure such as hydro, very close to the local highways, has got local workforce in the area without having to set up camps. And for all those reasons, you get to very robust economics.
You've announced strategic relationships across processing, inputs, and downstream partners. How do these partnerships de risk the path from development to commercial production?
Most of the partners that we're involved with are long-term established partners in each sector, industry sector vertical. These are partners that have been in these processes for decades. And so they have commercial processes that are running. What we wanted to really avoid was the R&D process. We wanted to be into commercial processes that work so that when we get to our result, which is to provide the LFP cathode active material for batteries such as these, we've got the processes to scale up very quickly and we're not bound to an R&D process, which sometimes is not even financeable. We are sitting in economic, commercially known processes that are easily scalable and easily financeable.
There has also been discussion about potential project financing support, including from export credit agencies, financial institutions, and government. Notably, the Department of War approved your white paper on supplying the North American markets for LFP materials. How does access to that type of capital benefit First Phosphate?
I think it shows that the project and the needs for this North American onshore LFP battery supply chain fits into a much broader policy context from for governments from local, state, all the way up to national. And it also fits into what the US agencies are looking for in terms of securing a North American supply chain. And this allows us, once we are past our feasibility study, to get to some very non-dilutive financing, which will be supported by a number of groups. And hopefully we can have a mine up and running by 2029.
Looking ahead over the next 12 to 18 months, what are the key catalysts that you believe could meaningfully advance the company and unlock value for shareholders?
So I think very important, as we were mentioning earlier, the feasibility study, which is expected to be delivered by the end of 2026, is very important because after that we start to get into the non-dilutive funding and into the construction planning to hopefully be able to have the mine up and running by 2029. We have recently secured some binding offtakes, and we've also received some payments on the binding offtake agreement. So this is really important that we continue to progress down these lines.
In summary, John, what's the essential value proposition? Why should investors take an interest in First Phosphate today?
Yes, First Phosphate controls one of the only igneous phosphate deposits in North America that produces a lot of purified phosphoric acid for LFP batteries. And along with it, the entire supply chain for making LFP batteries in North America to make batteries such as these made from fully North American critical minerals, which basically secures our energy independence and our independence in manufacturing LFP technology.
It's a great story, John. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Craig.